I think that's good enough. Okay. Yeah. So now, just wondering, just tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you like a student right now, or
I am a student in multiple schools. Yeah,
what's your major?
I study social work, Islamic studies.
Okay.
Um, let's see what else. Allied health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm studying chaplaincy, so a lot of different
Okay.
things.
Yeah. And so, if you don't mind me asking, are you Muslim, Christian, apostate? What exactly is your belief? I don't know
That
about.
was an interesting question. My background is Sufism. I don't know if you're familiar
Okay.
with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sufism.
So, yeah, I'll try to just jump into the topic. I
What's
feel
the
like
topic?
there's, yeah, well, yeah. So I feel like there's a little bit of confusion, on a lot of things. But one of the things is what the Quran says about the Bible, corrupt or uncorrupt. And I feel like just from I listened to one of your tapes, I feel like there is some clarity which needs to be made here, because you have asked, well, how is it that we can, condemn the Bible, show errors in it, when the Quran apparently confirms the book, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, and it could be definitely a two-way discussion. And so, yeah, I want to share with you my understanding. It could be I could be wrong, and definitely you can correct me on that. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm just going to share my screen here. And I think when we talk about, the reliability of the Bible, share screen, allow. And I don't know if you watch other people's debates on the topic, but they always bring this up. And there you go. I don't. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. The first, when we talk about the reliability of the Bible, it's two parts. It's You got to actually show the evidence. You got to show the money, and that's 80%. That's mandatory. You have to do that. You actually have to show why this book is reliable. The secondary evidence is a Quran allegedly confirming the reliability of the Bible. It's optional, meaning, let's say, you're trying to show all this amazing evidence, manuscript evidence or whatever it is, and it's not working. The Muslim is just stubbornly resisting. Then, yeah, you can say, look, your book is actually confirming the evidence. Okay. So that is a way this debate is supposed to take place. Cross scriptural confirmation may be used as supporting the primary evidence, but it cannot substitute for the primary evidence. Do you have any problems with what you see here?
Um, it's not that I necessarily have a problem. I don't know if I agree with that premise, but I understand. I'm listening. I hear what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if the Christians like Wood and other people, they want to convince us the Bible's reliable, unchanged, and stuff like that. So here is the first problem, which all the Dawagandists are pointing out. Maybe they didn't articulate it in the best way, but I'm going to try to articulate it. The debates, there's just a ton of debates and discussions on this, on the so-called Islamic dilemma. Okay. The primary evidence, you're looking at about 0.1% mandatory. I mean, what is mandatory? You got like 0.1% on debates like, is the Bible reliable? Has the Bible been changed? Has this book been corrupted? All the debates is on the secondary evidence, trying to claim that the Quran confirms reliability. So this is not an exaggerated number, by the way. Okay, this is like really what we're having, and that's taqiyya. Okay, where you're not showing the evidence for this. Like, for example, Dr. Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, these are the people you're supposed to doing all this debate should have been taking place with them, where you show us the amazing evidence, whether manuscript evidence or something like whatever that you believe is proving the reliability and trustworthiness, uncorruptedness of the book. Show us that those debates should have taken place. But now you are friends with David Wood. I'm happy and pleased about that, actually, because you could use him to compare. You know him. You know David Wood doesn't debate anything about his own religion, trying to prove that it is reliable. And this is my point. They know it is corrupt. So, like, if you just do a search in YouTube, let's just do debate on reliability of Bible. Ugh. There's like 0.1%. And the ones that do exist, they actually, the Christians concede it is corrupt. Okay, they actually do concede that. You can still see my screen, right? Yeah. So I want to kind of like, for example, Bart Ehrman, this is what David Wood and all those people should be doing. And not just onesie or twosies. You got to do at least, oh, I don't know, 30 to 40 debates on this topic because you got to debate it enough till people get the picture. Yeah, here's why you should believe that the Bible is absolutely reliable. But as you can see, there's almost none. Almost none. Now, this, like for example, Ehrman versus Wallace, this is a good debate to watch where Wallace actually admits that the Bible is corrupt, it has been changed. So then the question is really, and everybody accepts this, by the way. The question is, okay, well, if it's been changed and corrupted, why should we still believe it's reliable? That's where the discussion and debate should take place. So I think you can see the problem that there's some takia taking place there. Do you see any takia?
Well, my understanding of the concept of takia is that you're doing it's a kind of a way of self-protecting, protecting yourself. It's not actually really lying. It's like a person who's under the threat of death that, represents themselves slightly differently to protect themselves from death. I think it's weird to
You're
hear
right.
this word being used this way. I think it's actually, I hate to say this, it's kind of an Islamophobic term that's been
Mm-hmm.
used around, like where people
Mm-hmm.
use this term to say, well, Muslims are actually really liars. And like,
Yes.
that's not really true. Muslims aren't liars. This is a thing where it's a technique of self-preservation under like, extreme duress. And so that term I have a difficulty with, but
You are right.
thank you. I think it's hard. I think my position is that I don't need these texts to be like, I don't think they have to have the scrutiny of science. We use historical critical method in this, but I don't use it for the Quran and I
Mm-hmm.
don't use it for the Bible. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
see them as different. It's a different toolkit. These are supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be spiritual, holy texts. So I think you can actually reconcile these texts.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to read them differently. You don't have to read the Bible literally. I think that's the issue. People are like reading it literally and they're like, well, it doesn't sound like it connects with the Quran. I'm like, I think they have two different types of narratives. That's at least my position on
Mm-hmm.
this. So I don't actually think they're in conflict. I
Right.
think that that's the issue. I don't actually disagree. I'm like, I think they can be confirmed. It's just how do you read these texts? If you
Mm-hmm.
read the text literally, then you have an issue. But that's a Salafi position. And I think Salafi Islam doesn't really work very well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
When you can't literally read the Quran and literally read the Hadith, these things don't work well. And it's a new invention. Actually, it's an innovative system. The Salafi movement is very new. Um, like my father's family's been Muslim for like, I guess you say centuries. They're from South Asia too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, are you from
So
Pakistan or where are you from?
my dad was born before Pakistan existed. So my dad was born in a place called Tamil Nadu. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar
Tamil
with it.
Nadu. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the president of India actually came from Tamil Nadu. His name was President Abdul Kalam.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You may have heard of him, which is kind of really cool that there's actually been an Indian Muslim president. But
But you eat
yeah,
Pakistani food at least.
I mean, I think they're the same thing. Like personally,
Yeah.
Indian Muslim and Pakistan, like really not. There's not really a difference,
Mm.
in my opinion. But like, yeah. So I have family that went to Pakistan after the partition.
Mm-hmm.
So I have family in Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, like all over South
Okay.
Asia. But yeah, like my family, it's like it was never this hardline stuff. This is very new that I'm seeing like within Muslim spaces. Like people doing the had, like where they will cut people's hands off if they
Mm-hmm.
steal. I'm like that didn't exist. Like even like polygamy, all these things, like my family, that never happened. My family never did polygamy or anything like that. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like it's strange that you see like in the Salafi movement, it's very popular that people take on a
Yeah.
lot of wives, and it's definitely a very strange phenomenon. But
Right.
yeah, like there was never really conflict because if you live in India, people are Christian, Jewish,
Mm-hmm.
Hindu, and you kind of live with each other. You kind of stay in your own space and you do your own stuff. And sometimes people celebrate all the holidays together, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of reality that I
Yeah.
knew. So
Right. Well, you have some valid concerns that a religion, I'm just going to paraphrase what you're saying. A religion should not bring about evil. And by evil, by definition, what I mean is needless, preventable suffering. whether it's polygamy, whether it's chopping off the hand or whatever, allegedly. And we can go into those issues and see if it's really a problem or not. But the point which I also wanted to make to you, a lot of my debates is about that. That hey, listen, there is evil in Christianity. For example, they got it wrong on alcohol, they got it wrong on epilepsy. There is some evil teachings there which does cause needless suffering, preventable suffering. And that's why, and it's indefensible. That's why David Wood, the Christian apologists, they've looked at this with a fine tooth comb as far as what topics they can debate, what they cannot, and they know that they can never win a debate related to science. It's going to expose so many errors, and so maybe takia was the wrong word to use, but what it is, it's just deception. It's just being a con artist where your Bible is corrupt, but it's like you're trying to trick people to believe in a book that is corrupt and unreliable. And you're running away from these debates with Dr. Bart Ehrman, Richard Kerr, and the list goes on. And so that's not a very honest thing to do. The problem with the Christian apologists that you befriend is they're not being honest with people on this issue. Look, I remember, I'll tell you a story. I mean, first of all, these numbers I'm quoting you, there's literally 0.1% of debates on really showing that the Bible is reliable. That's because they know it's not. And I don't think that's an exaggerated number. There's some debates which are close, like talk about historicity of the Bible, which is what they're doing. They're downgrading it. They're like, hey, listen, we're opening up the fact that, yeah, it could have errors and mistakes and stuff like that. So they do. So if you look, it's almost nobody is willing to debate this topic with Dr. Bart Ehrman. It's very few. So what the Christians do, they debate topics which are very few. First of all, there are very few, like divinity of Christ. Are there moral values? And 99% of their material is just attacking Islam. But true apologetics is you got to defend your own religion. You got to show and make the case for Christ, whatever it may be. That's got to be at least 50% of your online material. So this is the problem, that it's like zero, that all the debates are right here. Do you see a problem here where you got like 99% of the debates are Quran confirming reliability, allegedly, and literally they got 0.1% of defending their own Bible, of really showing the evidence for it? Do you see a problem there in these numbers?
I mean, I can understand it. It's not really a problem for me because this isn't even really an issue for me personally from my standpoint. And I wanted to address the point that you said, like about evil things.
Yes.
I don't think it's the gospel that's the problem. I think it's the people that are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about from our place. We come India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, this area. We had colonialism. And you're right. Like, I've heard your debates on the imperialism and colonialism are real. These things did exist. And these movements did a lot of destruction, a lot of assault, a lot of horror, enslavement of people. This is all true. I don't think it is connected to the gospel. Like, after reading it, like when you read what, the big JC, or you say Isa alayhi or Jesus or whatever, term you want to use, he speaks against hypocrisy. Like, if you read the Gospels, that's pretty much his position. He's like, religious bigots and hypocrites who say, stone people to death. He's like, no, you can't do that because you are sinners. Like, you do bad things. You can't condemn people because you do the same bad things that you're condemning. That's like the teachings that you see from him in the text, which I think are very clean and clear and good. But the people themselves, I think, have manipulated the teachings. Like, even they manipulated Paul's teaching about, like, in Onesimus, where, he talks about a slave. And I'm like, that's a very micro thing. And then you're trying to make it a macro thing where you're trying to say, well, we can enslave people. I'm like, first and foremost, you people aren't even Israelites to begin with. You're Gentile people that have now claimed that you are somehow superior to everyone else. And you think that you get to take over everything else. And it's deeply problematic, so that's my kind of issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, the issue is, it is the Gospels, which is the problem. And this is explicitly written in the scientific journals. Like, for example, the ones I shared on epilepsy, and I quoted 2 or 3 references blaming the text of the Bible. It is. I mean, like, and then we can get to the topic. Like, for example, the issue of alcohol. There is only one right answer here. Absolute no, no alcohol due to what we know about, fetal alcohol syndrome. And, just last week, I was on an Indian reservation. Two-thirds of many of these reservations are alcoholic. So because moderate alcohol doesn't work for them. And I don't know why. Is it a racial thing? Or people raise up these questions? I don't know why. But when it comes to indigenous people, Eskimos, American Indians, no, the answer should be no, 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 no. And that's exactly what they're doing now. They're stripping them, taking the bottle away from them, shutting down shops, and making it very difficult for them to actually purchase alcohol. There are many programs like that. It is an undeniable fact when you ask the question of alcohol, yes or no, moderate or non, when it comes to American Indians and Eskimos and people like that, the answer should be no. Okay, I don't think there can be any denial at this point, but the Bible gave the wrong answer on this. So it shares a responsibility for administering a drug to the general public. And when bad things happen, there is a shared responsibility for the bad things that happen. I mean, if it was just a matter of people misinterpreting the text, then the Woods and the Shamones and all the Christian apologists would definitely come out for the debate and point that out. But they know that it is intrinsically a problem in the text. And this is alcohol is just one example. The issue of epilepsy. I don't know if you saw my debate on that. That is another. The persecution of epileptics by Christians, it is inherently a problem in the text of the Gospels, as the scientists and experts have pointed out. So that is, and so it's been now the last debate on Quran and science was the Bible, the Quran and modern science was back in 1996 with Dr. Zakir Naik. Since then, Christians have been running away from this topic because they know that their books contain indefensible scientific contradictions. So when you look at, I want you to always compare me with David Wood. David Wood, his 99% of his material is just attacking Islam. He has given up on trying to argue a case for Christianity in terms of debating the great scholars like Dr. Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, and the list goes on. Because he knows it is weak to ridiculous evidence to try to prove the gospel has evidence for it, or it's reliable, or there's real scientific evidence. He knows that. Wouldn't you agree with me on that?
I don't think that's really his concern. I think they have a different outlook. Christians have a different outlook than Muslims. I don't think they are interested in proving that it's scientific. I think the most important thing,
or it doesn't have to be scientific, any kind of evidence, prophecy, science, any type of evidence. So the Rosetta Stone, it could be anything. I just use science as an example.
In my limited understanding, I think what Christians are interested in is Jesus. Like, he's the most most important figure ever. And even if the Hebrew scriptures were invalid, it wouldn't matter because he's the centerfold, because he's the savior. I think that is the crux for the Christian. So I think it would be hard. I think we're dealing with two different modalities. Like a Muslim, like the kind of your standard Muslim modality versus like a Christian modality are operating on two different wavelengths.
Yeah, and that I'm gonna correct you, okay? Because that's kind of a delusion. Let me explain. Okay, having evidence is like a burning ember. You will not be able to stay so silent on it. The thing is that this is called a bluff, meaning you're pretending, or the Christians are pretending that, there's really good evidence for the reliability of the gospel and proving that this stuff is really from God. It could be scripture. It could be prophecy. It could be science. It could be Rosetta Stone, whatever it may be. We just choose not to debate on it. That's a delusion. That's called a bluff. You're bluffing. Okay, so this doesn't exist in the real world. That there's such good evidence out there, but you just choose not to debate it, argue it, and champion it. That doesn't happen in the real world, Issa. That's a born-again Christian delusion they're giving you. What reality tells us, and I deal with reality. You know, there is no good evidence for that. And you know that there are indefensible teachings in your book. You're not going to win that case on whether it be scientific errors or slave beating or whatever it is, trying to prove the reliability of the Bible. That's why this number is 0.01, because you know you ain't going to beat the case. That's reality. Okay. Not that people are just not interested. It's not my focus right now. No, this is a ridiculous number. This is silly. This is a silliness Wood is, and all these people are trying to bait you on. And I'm an apologist myself. I remember I was on Pal Talk one day. It was a software. This is before the internet came to be, so great as it is. And it was a chat room, and we were just attacking Christianity and pointing out all the errors of the Bible. And I said, stop. We've done this for about 20, 30 minutes. That's enough. We're now going to focus on Islam because we got to be balanced here. I mean, Islam is not true just because all these problems in the Bible and stuff like that. We need to be balanced. I did that many times. That's true apologetics. Come on, Wood and these people don't do that. The reason why this number is 99% is because they're conning people. They know there's no evidence, there's no reliability, there is no case for Christ being argued on modern day debate. It's just not there. There's only one religion, which is arguing the case for its religion, and that's Islam. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, it depends. Like, if you have like a debater like Daniel Hakikachu, he's not defending Islam. I've never even seen him defend Islam. Primarily, he just attacks whatever. He attacks Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity. He's very good at what he does, but I would say that it's not really, he doesn't defend Islam.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I can't. So there are exceptions. I mean,
I'm just saying that's from what I've
I would
seen.
use myself as the example. Let me use myself because I am truly arguing the case for Islam from science, from prophecy, and whatever it can be. I'm there. So if we just do Wood, let's just type Wood in here to see what are the topics being. Okay, doesn't work. Oh, here we go. So here we see very safe topics he's trying to debate that really don't get into the critical core of Christianity. Is there naturalism true? Let's see. I mean, again, mostly Islam related
Did you see
topics.
the Andrew Wilson versus Daniel Hakikachu debate?
Yeah, that was quite embarrassing, of course.
I was like, you're talking. I'm like, I it was very embarrassing. I was there in person and I saw it, and I was like, I can't believe this was even argued.
That's why if I make a fool out of myself like that, please do create a live stream and call me every bad name in the book. And that's why I have no problem with you criticizing me or criticizing any of my debates. I actually love it. I welcome it. I need that type of feedback. So I'm not like these other arrogant apologists who cannot handle criticism. And that's why I like you. I like the way you take apart, I don't agree with everything you say, but how you take apart some of the things I say and point out when I'm a joke like Hakikachu and stuff like that. So I just want to throw that out there. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Uncle. I appreciate it. I just, actually, I was a debater. I debated against David Wood. That's how we first met. We debated about the Prophet of Islam. Mm-hmm. My position, it's like, some of these things, like, I think there was a lot of, I hear you taking a position of arguing for science in Islam. Mm-hmm. My position is, I'm like, why not talk about helping orphans, helping poor people? Like, I think these are much stronger positions, like these anthropological positions, where it's like, look, Islam came in a space where you had a very highly classist position, very racist, a very racist classist society, right? Very Arab supremacist, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of Arab supremacy now. I'm sure you've seen it. It's very problematic, but like, it went and kind of revolutionized that. And I actually really like the movie The Message. I don't know if you've seen it, from 1976, or we saw, they have an Arabic version and an English version. It's like one of my favorite movies. It's well done. Mustafa Khadi made the Halloween series, but he also made this movie. And it's like, it's spectacular. But what I think about it is, you have this extremely racist, classist society, and there's give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
So I might have to go for just a minute, but
Oh, sure, no problem. Yeah, if
I
you have
was
to go, that's fine. I could always hit pause if
yeah.
there's something
Oh
that
yeah,
comes up.
I might need just like a minute
Sure, sure, sure.
to transfer because my cover just comes, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
hand it off. But yeah, I will. Yeah, let's just pause for a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay,
Cool.
sure, no problem.
Great.
Show comments on stage.
I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay, so one thing I wanted to say is, oops, I just ended my share. Uh, the number, I want you to look at these numbers, and I want you to, you know, agree this is just unacceptable. I mean, this is the number why we're looking at point zero one debate on the actual primary evidence. It's not because of loss, just lack of interest or lack of focus or our specialty is in something else. That's not the case here. Okay. There is a problem here where they know the book is corrupt and they know they can't prove their case in terms of why you should still believe it. And what they're doing, they're trying to trick people into believing into the reliability. I can't see any other option or any other alternative explanation which explains this data. Do you know of one other than that?
I mean, I don't. I think my perspective on this is like it feels like it's like scientism. I don't think religion, and I think after the Enlightenment era and this kind of idea that we have to conform to scientific ideals, I
No,
don't know if we have to
this is
do
about
that.
the Quran confirms reliability debate is what we're talking about.
Oh, you're saying with this particular
Yeah,
situation?
just this topic. Yeah.
Uh, I
It,
mean,
I,
for me personally, if it, I feel that it does. Like from the Hadith, it says that, like it says that you have to believe in the books. I think that's pretty
That's fine.
clear.
We're not. What
Oh,
my question here is: look, it's not a matter of whether it's true or not. The issue here is that it should be an
mhm.
80-20 split, where you have on the mandatory debate needs to take place on actually showing that it is reliable with people like Dr. Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, and other great scholars. 20% of the debate should be on if the Quran confirms the reliability. That's where it's about the split. But these are the numbers we are seeing here. Okay. That's not acceptable numbers. That shows that there's a problem here with the primary evidence.
I mean, if that is the case, I can see that argument.
Mhm. And oh, by the way, like I said, I welcome all criticism and I thank you for it. You're not going to be able to get away with that with David Wood. If you criticize people like that, and like for example, let's just say, Wood, these numbers look terrible. You seriously need to get back on modern day debate and start contacting Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, and other people and Rabbi Tobias, and start really showing us that this book is reliable. You just see what will happen to you, Issa. You will be ostracized by them. You'll be called a dawagandist. They're not nice guys like me because they're not true apologists, Issa. They're con artists. They're deceiving themselves and they're deceiving you. And I think you know that. I think you will not be able to criticize Wood as freely as you can criticize me. It's just not going to happen. Would you agree with that?
I mean, we've never had any conflict, so
Try
I
it.
mean,
Just try it. Say, hey, listen, walk these numbers to him. Say, I looked at your numbers on modern day debate. You're not defending. There's no case for Christ which is being made on it. You should be doing it. Just talk to him about these things and see what happens to you. It won't be pretty. I can tell you, and I think you know that, right?
maybe it's never been really a concern. I think in our conversations, in our dialogues, I mean, I think it's a very personal thing for him of why he became a Christian. He had a very
It's
powerful
about the
spiritual
split. We're
experience.
talking about the split. What topics are you debating here? I think that so the lack of debate on certain critical core topics like the reliability of the Bible, church fathers, are they really reliable? Is Paul a true apostle? The lack of debate on that is being questioned here. Why do we not see any debates from you on this? And I think if you were to question him on that, it won't be pretty.
I mean, it would be interesting if you're taking like a Muslim position towards it. I mean, his counterclaim would be like, well, Islam accepts all of this. Like, even if you look at
No,
the
no, no, no.
earlier
You're not
most
understanding,
scholars.
Isa. I'm saying there
Okay.
needs to be a debate between. Well, first of all, David Wood needs to be proactive. He needs to go after like the Richard Carriers, Bart Ehrman, and say, "I can prove the Bible is reliable and it's trustworthy." So, like for example, I don't know if you ever read the Bible. When I pick up the Bible, it could be New Testament. About 1 minute in, I start asking questions. Is this really the words of Jesus? I mean, are these really authentic words? And I start having doubts. Who wrote this stuff? So you've gotta satisfy those
Can I ask you
doubts
a
with
question?
evidence. Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you feel is problematic of the gospel? Like what he says. Like I never saw anything that really was kind of shocking or appalling to me, maybe from my own kind of personal
The,
background.
the
Like,
I yeah
yeah,
so both the Quran and the Bible gave the answer on alcohol. The Bible gave the wrong answer. That's one appalling thing. And it has caused the alcoholism of American Indians, it's caused fetal alcohol syndrome. So that's the first point. There are a lot of wrong teachings in the gospels from a scientific point of view, but that's we could get into that. But what I want you to look at the split over here. It needs to be 80-20, as I pointed out, at least as I understand it, or it could be something within that neighborhood. But we are seeing that the mandatory debates are like 0.01, and the optional debates, which is more of a supportive type of discussion. Like, for example, if you're not accepting the primary evidence showing for the reliability of the Bible, then yes, definitely talk about how the Quran confirms its reliability to get the Muslim over the hump. I mean, that's the way it should work. Okay, but these numbers are not acceptable. Do you see that? Or that, I mean, do you see
I
the
mean,
problem here?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if what is the purpose of the numbers. Like, that's what I'm not completely understanding. I'm like, what? How do we define what reliability is? What makes something
Well, that's what the
reliable?
Christians see. That's what the Christians need to come out and state clearly on: is this book reliable or not? Like, for example, they what the Christians want the Muslims to believe is that the Bible has never been changed and it is absolutely reliable. You could put 100% confidence that you're reading authentic material. Okay, great. We want to see evidence for this stuff. We want to see this type of evidence being debated with Dr. Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, Rabbi Tobias, and the names go on. We want to see those debates where you really can defend these claims. But that's not happening. And I'm
Who's
questioning the lack of debate on that.
who's Rabbi Tobias?
Oh, yeah. Here, let me see if I can show you his YouTube page. He's really good. Um, Rabbi. Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, Rabbi
Tobias.
Tov. You're talking about Tovia, Rabbi Tovia
I'm
Singer.
sorry, I mispronounced
Oh,
his name.
I met Rabbi Tovia Singer.
Oh, wonderful! Really,
Yeah,
where'd you
he's a
meet
good
him?
friend. Yeah, I met him in New Jersey. He's
Oh,
a very amazing man. I met his father. We prayed together. He's a very amazing man.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. So the expectation here is that you should appear on on his YouTube channel and defend the New Testament's reliability. Another one. Have you ever been to Myth Vision? Um, Myth
I mean, it
Vision.
sounds familiar. I saw
Yeah.
Mehdi Hassan
This
come up.
this is so important that you go to this podcast and defend the gospels here, okay? Uh and so, like, for example, this guy brings in a lot of scholars to basically,
Oh, I did see
yeah,
this. I've seen this
yeah.
channel before.
Yeah, he's really good. And so, as a Christian, if you're honest, you need to go on these channels and start debating and defending and proving the gospels are reliable. Okay. So that should be, I mean, am I wrong here? That should be 80% of your material. 20% should be the Quran confirming the reliability, because really you don't need this. If you got really good evidence right here, and that should be enough. And then if the Muslim is not accepting the primary evidence, then yes, go ahead and bring up the secondary evidence if it's true. So that's the way it should be, Isa. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I would have a question. What would the Christian need to prove? What exactly would be the evidence they need to prove? Like, I
They got
think,
to show that this book is reliable, it has never been changed, and you can have full confidence in what you're reading is authentic.
well, I think that that standard of not being changed is not important to a Christian. That's not a standard that they care about. You know what I mean? It's divinely inspired. It doesn't have to be
Wait a
perfectly
second.
preserved.
No, that's not true. They're trying to convince the Muslim that it's never been changed. They're trying to convince that that's what the Quran confirms reliability debate is all about, that it's never been changed. That's what they're literally telling us.
Well, what I think the Christian argument is here is that they're saying, well, that's the Muslim argument. The Muslim argument is that these are all perfectly preserved texts. So this is from the Muslim position. They're saying in their position they don't need that. They don't need the text to be perfectly preserved. They're saying we're holding you to your standard.
Okay, well,
Our
okay,
standard is
even
a
okay.
different
So if
standard.
that's the case, then the debate needs to be on reliability. That in spite of it not being perfectly preserved, how can you still trust what this book is saying and have full confidence in the text? And okay, yeah, that's where the debate should be. Then if that's the case, then I've got to put this number at 0. Okay, there is no discussion and debate. Unfortunately, I have to bring it down to 0 now, because that where the focus needs to be. It's they're not debating that because they know there's no evidence to back up what they're saying. This number is unacceptable. And do you see where the problem is here? Why I'm saying this is an unacceptable number, that you are absolutely refusing to entertain any discussion, debate on this primary critical core subject on how we can trust this book?
I, I see the numbers, but I'm not really understanding why this would be a problem for
Okay.
Christians. I don't think this
It's
is a
a
framework
problem.
that
It's
Christians
it's
are
it's an
cared about.
expectation of every, whether you be a Christian, Muslim, or Jew, that if you're engaging in apologetics, the expectation is that you should debate with the scholars like Dr. Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, Rabbi Tobias, and others than them, and lay out the case for why we should trust the Bible. If it's got mistakes in it or it's been not perfectly preserved, okay, fine, but tell us why we should continue to trust this book and have full confidence in it. We want the evidence laid out. We want to hear the alternative arguments which Dr. Bart Ehrman brings forth, and we want to see how you refute and defeat those arguments. This is not a Nadir Ahmed type of weird thinking, but this is an expectation of, I would think, almost all the Bible believers who engage in apologetics. That debate is not taking place. Okay. And that's a problem. The lack of debate on a critical core topic, we need to start questioning it, Issa. Why is there such a lack of debate on that? But yet, all the debate is the Quran confirming reliability. It's like what this numbers means to us is that you're trying to trick people to believe in something you know is not reliable. Do you see the logic there?
I mean, I see the logic, but I don't think this logic would work for a
Then
Christian.
what other explanation can you explain these numbers? What are some of the other explanations you can give?
So, what I think from the Christian's argument, what their position is in this Islamic dilemma is that they're saying, look, we don't even have to deal with our religion. We're going to deal with your religion. You're making a claim, and your claim does not work. You're saying that, look, you have this continuous tradition, from the Prophet Adam all the way to the Prophet of Islam. You have this continuous tradition, and all of these scriptures, they come from Allah, right? But now you, the Muslims, are denying your own scriptures. You're denying the Torah. You're denying the Zabur. You're denying the Injil. And because you see that the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil they do not cooperate with the Quran. So since they don't cooperate, you have a problem. This is what the Christians are saying to the Muslims. They're saying, we don't have to worry about our text. You need to worry because
That's
you're
the problem
saying
right
the
there.
Torah.
What you just said, freeze. We don't have to worry about our text. I have to correct you, Issa. No, you really do have to worry about that. This
Well,
doesn't make sense.
I'm
What
not
you're
saying this is
saying,
my
Issa.
position. I'm saying this is the
Okay,
Christian
but see,
position.
this
So, I
is
mean,
what you're saying doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, what the Christians are trying to do, they are trying to, of course, show that type of contradiction between, that's fine. But what they are trying to do, they're trying to get us to believe that the Bible is reliable. That is undeniable. If they're not trying to do that, then they should have said it. No, 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 no. I don't want you to believe this book is reliable, because I see that whole debate as being irrelevant. This stuff doesn't make sense, what you're saying, Issa. Okay? Look, it is undeniable that the Christians want part of this Islamic dilemma. They want the Muslims to believe the Bible is reliable and have full confidence it is true. They want us to believe in that. Okay? Do you have any doubt about this?
on which part?
They want Muslims to believe that the Bible is reliable and have full confidence in its teachings because your book says so. That's what they're trying to achieve. And
Yeah,
if they're not trying to achieve that, that's a problem.
well, I think the Christian's goal in these conversations are to say your teaching says that these are confirmed, and you're saying it's not. So the
Right?
Christian is saying you're a hypocrite. You don't actually follow your own book, your own sunnah. You
Mhm.
don't follow this, and you just claim that there are phantom
Right.
texts. And I think
Okay.
this is what the Christian is saying. They're saying we don't have
If
the
they're
onus
okay,
of proving the
okay, let's
Bible
just
is
go along with
reliable.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
If they are truly saying what you're saying, can you see the problem in what they're saying? Because what they should be saying, and you're saying they're not saying it, but what they should be saying is that yes, these books are truly reliable and you could have full confidence in it. And if the Christian is not saying that in the debate, whoa, wait a second, why are you not actually arguing that? So that's my point, that if they're not saying this in a debate, we got to question that. Oh, wait a second here. Why are you not actually making that affirmation here? What do you know that we don't know? You see my point? If this book had evidence for it, I don't know, understand how you're not getting this. If the book really did have evidence to support its reliability and full confidence, that should not be a side issue. That should not be, well, that's just not on my mind right now. That should not be, well, that's just not important right now. No, that should be very important. And that should be the primary evidence,
Uh,
Isa.
and I hear you 100%. What I'm trying to communicate is from their point of view, they're saying, we don't have to do that. You're
That's
making
a
the claim.
deception. When they say we don't have to do that, that's where all the problem is. When you see, this is deception. This is
Okay.
a fraud when they think we don't have to do that. We need to push back. No, you really do. See, the thing is this, what they have to do, mandatory, they got to be clear. What do you believe about this book? Is it reliable in actuality? Is it, do you believe this? And does it have supporting evidence for it to begin with? They got to be honest and clear. Transparency. This comes back to the issue of transparency on that. And there is no transparency on what the issue, on whether this book is really reliable or not. That's what you're not understanding, Isa. It's like you're trying to, in a way, kind of defend their deception, and it doesn't work. You got to come out and you got to say, hey, look, it's okay to debate this topic. The Quran allegedly confirms the reliability, but you really do gotta they gotta do two things. Either they gotta debate and defend the reliability of the scripture, or come out and be honest and say it's not reliable and there's no evidence to support it. And we couldn't give you any really good reasons as for why you should have confidence as you read it that these are really authentic teachings. I'm sorry, I can't make those claims. So that's about honesty, Isa. It's about integrity. It's about transparency. HIT, honesty, integrity, transparency, and they don't have it, Isa. Can you see that?
I understand your argument.
Okay.
I think from their point of view, it's just not. It's like an oil water kind of position. These are just
It's
two very different, two
dishonesty,
parallel.
Isa.
And for them, it's not about honesty. They're like,
Right,
just
exactly. There is no, you're right. You're hitting it on the nut. It's not about honesty for them. That is right. Now you're seeing my point of view.
what I'm trying to say is that it's very funny. What I'm trying to say is that these are just you're like, I think Christians and Muslims are just talking from two very different worldviews. Like you mentioned alcohol before. Actually, it could reconcile with Islam that the ancient people drank
Well,
alcohol because
first, we'll get to
alcohol was
alcohol in a
banned
second, but
during.
yeah,
Okay.
let's just focus on this lack of debate on the primary evidence. See, lack of debate on any topic. Okay, it's a very common sense thing. When there is a lack of debate in light of the demand, so you've got this huge demand, overwhelming demand for debates on the reliability of the New Testament, and yet there's a lack of debate on it. That proves that the case is not weak enough. I'm sorry, is not strong enough to take it to trial. This is common sense, and that is what I'm trying to get you to understand. So think of these debates as a court, like a court battle. The prosecutor, the defender, they look at the case and they look at it. Is this case strong enough to take it to trial? If it's not, they don't take it to trial. And the same holds true with these debates. The lack of debate on the reliability of the New Testament would, and all these Christian apologists, what's inspiring philosophy, they have looked over the case for the reliability of the New Testament, and they're doing the same mathematics, calculus. This case is not strong enough to take to trial. That's the reason why you don't see any debates. That's the reason why this number is at zero, at literally zero. That's the only explanation.
Well, you do know
Okay.
that IP debated Richard Carrier. They did have a debate.
Yes, but
The
not
modern day
on
debate.
the issue. Okay, yeah. So let's see what that topic was. It's not. He was not on the issue, important issue, inspiring Ugh. Philosophy, Richard Carrier. Okay, let's see what the topic was. Does God exist? That's a con, right? Because it's not going to go into the errors of the New Testament or the scientific problems or all. So, what they're doing is they're debating safe topics, philosophical topics, vague, ambiguous topics. So, you look at the topics which are being debated, okay? And you can see where the Christians are going with that critical core. The reliability of the New Testament. Is Paul a true prophet? Are the church fathers reliable? Richard Carrier, I keep mentioning Dr. Richard Carrier. Why do I mention that? Here is a reason why. Okay, let's go to Google. He wrote a fantastic article. This is back in the 90s. Kooks and Quacks of the Roman Empire. Okay, in which he blew away and exposed the Gospels and its corruptness and the church fathers and the kooks and quacks for who they are. Then what happened is there was a little bit of online debate took place between him and another website, which was called thinktank.com. This is all back in the 90s, by the way. Dr. Richard Carrier destroyed every one of those arguments. People like David Wood and all the Christian apologists all looked on and knew they're not going to beat the case. They knew his arguments were superior, well documented, and undeniable. Since then, this is the year 1997. It is now 2026. The Christians have been running away from this topic for now, how many years? Like over almost 28 years. This is deception. They know that the book is corrupt. Okay? Now, see, the problem here, this explains these numbers here. Zero debate on the reliability of it. Literally zero. And all the debate is on conning people, tricking people to believe in a book which they know is unreliable. Can you see that, Issa?
I see the argument. I don't think they have the same kind of gradations for what you would call reliable. It is reliable to them. Like,
yes, I know it's reliable. How do you explain this zero? How do you explain this number?
I don't know where the zero is exactly coming
Okay,
from.
I have
I don't know where the data
debates because unless I'm missing one, I have
Oh,
seen no
so
debates
you're
on
saying
the
there's no
topic.
debates on this particular topic. Okay.
Yeah, I
Well, there
can
could
look. I can look again. Let's
there
look
could be
real
different
quick.
variables. Like maybe other Muslim debaters didn't agree to this, or other people didn't agree to these debates. We
That's
don't
not
have the
true.
evidence.
I've worked very hard on trying to put this debate together. By
I
the
hear
way,
you. I'm just saying.
yeah.
What I'm offering you is there can be variables for why you would have that number. That's
So
what
they
I'm trying to say.
downgraded it to
Maybe
historical reliability, which is a downgrade. So that's is like so. My point here is the Christians are actually conceding it is not reliable in the sense like how they're trying to debate it with the Muslims. So here's one between now Ehrman and Wallace. Actually comes forward and say the Bible is corrupt. Okay, so we can't count that one. Okay,
how do
Bart.
we define what is corruption? How do you define that? What does that
Well,
mean?
ask Dr. Wallace. Watch his debate on can we trust the New Testament and see what he actually, this is the type of debate. So it's 6 years ago. So let me put this number again at 0.01. At least there is something out there with Dr. Dan Wallace, but it's not what we're looking for. What the Christians are trying to trick the Muslims into believing is that is not. See, what Daniel Wallace is saying is, yes, the scripture has been changed. It is corrupted. And he has a video on that, by the way, but you could still trust it. So well, should I put it 0, 1? I don't know. I'm going to give you one. I should be. So the point is this: David Wood, Christian, and all the Christians, they know that they can't beat the case. And I don't know how you're not seeing this, Issa. I keep repeating the same thing over and over again. It's like you want to defend them for some reason when it's so clear that they know the Bible is corrupt. They know that the reliability cannot be defended in any debate or any discussion. They know this stuff. That's why this number is where it is. Okay, let's put a bold on that. That's their only explanation. And you are basically pandering to these con artists.
I hear, like I said, I hear what you're saying. I think there's other variables that can explain this.
Okay, help me
Does the
understand that.
host, so as a debater who's been on the platform, usually like the moderator and the platform decides what the conversation is. They decide what is going to sell to the audience, because it's much deeper than just, two people going out to debate. Usually it's like, does the platform accept it? Do they accept the argument that's being presented? Will it bring audiences in? Because there's a mercantile element that's
Now,
involved
that
with it. So,
explanation won't work, and I'll explain why that doesn't work. So,
okay.
if you have good evidence for something, you take the initiative on reaching out to the Dr. Richard Kears, Bart Ehrman, and you will create that opportunity. You're not like subject to these people. Oh, what's the topic for today? No, you're going to get a phone call. Hey, dude, reliably New Testament, give Dr. Bart Ehrman a call right now. Set it up, baby. That's the way it works when you got real good evidence. So this explanation you're saying doesn't make sense.
I think it does make sense. It depends on the type of debate. So I think you are going to, because I've had that happen. Like,
It's
for
now been
example,
30 years, Issa.
okay.
You're telling me they found no opportunity in now 30
Well,
years?
I'm saying that there's issues that may have not arisen, and maybe there hasn't been
In
platforms. Or
30 years?
and here's another alternative. So that's one option. Second
That
option, I
doesn't
mean,
make sense.
it does make sense. That it does. You can say in that option, you say,
Okay,
well,
okay. So, okay,
maybe.
let's test your
Okay.
theory. Can you reach out to David Wood and say that we're going to have I want you, I know you've been having problems trying to set this up, but you're going to debate Dr. Bart Ehrman on the reliability of the New Testament. And we're going to not just one, we're going to do a couple. We're going to do Richard Carrier, you're going to do Bart Ehrman, because I know you go on these streams and maybe you're subject to their rules or something like that. Therefore, that's why we see this zero number here. Try that out and see what happens. Okay, Issa. Obviously, it's a delusion you're giving yourself and you're giving others.
I don't think so. I think
Okay,
what I'm
can you
saying.
email them? Let's set it up. Let's
So,
test that theory.
so wait a second here. I didn't finish. So that's one of
Okay.
the options that I offer. I have like 20 that I could bring right now. I'm saying this is just one of the options.
Okay.
Second is that some of these people may not even care about these things. They might be
That's
like, look,
deception.
I don't.
If you don't care about proving the actual
So
reliability, it's a
so
deception.
so,
Yeah.
so the point is, it depends.
How could you not care about this?
So what I'm saying is, it depends on what your standard of reliability is. So
Wait a second. Let me just ask you a question. So you're saying while they're debating the Muslims on the reliability of the New Testament, that the Quran confirms it, it never once occurred to them, hey, do I actually have evidence to support what I actually believe here? I mean,
well,
great. That never crossed their mind.
you have tons of scholars who do debate these types, like William Lane Craig debates these types of things. All of
No,
them,
he
a lot of
doesn't.
this.
No, let's go. Let's go to William Lane Craig. Does he debate this? No, he doesn't. New William Lane Craig. By the way, we're both from the same town. He went to church right down the street from me. So we're both from Peoria, Illinois. By the way, just to let you know.
You're from Illinois?
William,
Wow, I would have never. How did you end up in Illinois? How do you go from India to Illinois? That's a wild. That's a wild ride.
I can assure you, he does not debate the reliability of the New Testament. He absolutely refuses to, because now he'll debate something about resurrection. That's totally
I would say,
different.
wouldn't say that's a pass. That's
I
an
actually
element
talked
of
to him.
reliability.
I talked to him personally about this issue. He doesn't hold the belief that the Bible has never been changed and stuff like that. But that's why, as we scroll, we see no debates with Dr. William Lane Craig, which is an evidence,
Well,
by
what
the way,
about
because
this? Are the New Testament documents historically credible? That seems like it would be aligned
that's
with that.
downgrading, though. You see, now this is a solo lecture, which he won't debate it. So now he's soloing, but that's a downgrade, because now what you're saying is you're opening up the possibility. Yeah, there is corruption. There is texts which have been changed, but historically it's okay. So that's really not what we want to be debating here. Although it's interesting, at least he's participating in that, but it's onesie twosies, nowhere near. It's still at 0.01%. Okay, so that shows a lack of confidence. Now, this number right here, it shouldn't be 99%. Okay, so look, Issa, you seem to want to defend them. What you're trying to do, you're trying to defend their integrity. But these numbers, okay, show otherwise. Now, I think we've spent a lot of time on trying to get you to understand that you're trying to make excuses for them, trying to find out why they run away from debate. I mean, do you understand, Isa, when it comes to modern day debate, okay? Let's go to modern day debate. We are in a position where there is literally no Christians making the case for Christianity, arguing. I mean, this is continuously, aggressively leading the debate on why this religion is true or whatever it be, whether it be resurrection, whether it be the reliability of the New Testament. If you go on this website, Modern Day Debate, there is literally zero. Do you understand that? We have nobody arguing the case for Christianity on this religion, on this website, on this Modern Day Debate. Do you see a problem there?
Well, look at that one. That's like a two Christian arguments. It's Eastern Orthodox versus, I guess,
Yeah.
like the Greek. Or I mean, so you have a lot. That's
So
an internal
what you
Christian
have,
debate.
you might have like some anonymous people, like people from the comment section, filling the void left behind by the retreating apologists like Inspiring Philosophy, David Wood, and people like that. So you might get a little bit of that, but overall, nothing where it really needs to be in terms of quantity. Okay, so this is the situation. Only one religion is arguing the case for Islam from whatever it be, whether it's science, uh, what do I do? Prophecy, whatever it may be, is championing the religion, and that is Islam. And I'll use myself as an example. So
But
really, there's only one true apologist on modern day debate. There is no other. Can you see that? At least I can look through the search criteria. I don't know of any other. Let's look at my name. Look at all the stuff I do. Let me pat myself on the back. Slavery, nice.
I
Is
actually have a
Islam
question about
true?
that. Why did you take on that debate? What was the? I don't understand what the purpose was of taking on that debate of, you know, enslavement. Like,
Mhm.
because you do know the East African slave trade happened, and Arabs like enslaved African people, and they were
Mhm.
Muslim people that did this.
Yeah.
Like that is a part of the Islamic history,
No,
which is
no. Well, first of all, it goes back to what the scriptures teach. Okay, whether if Arabs and that this has been refuted multiple times, Isa, multiple times
the
in
East
some
African
for
slave
you.
trade. I
No,
don't
no,
even
the
think people
issue,
even
the
know
Arab
about it.
slave trade. The Arab slave trade in no way reflects what the scriptures of Islam teach and what the Prophet of Islam teaches. Look,
And
the
I don't think that the gospel promotes slavery either. I think that it's a manipulation of the
okay, hold on,
people.
hold on. You're
I think
throwing out too
both.
many points. I don't
Okay.
ever want to hear this nonsense about the Arab slave trade. So let's see. The Arabs did some slave trade, which doesn't make sense because Arabs, as you should know, are Christians, Jews, apostates, and Christians, and then there's some Muslims. So this doesn't make any sense.
But the
And
East
then
African
there's
slave trade was
Western
primarily
influence where
yeah.
people would come and say, "Hey, you want to make some money?" Okay, so that makes no sense. In no way does the Arab slave trade reflect the teachings of Muhammad. Now, had those people say, "Oh, we're just following the Hadith or the Quran or something like that," okay, yeah, now we can take a look at the case. But there is no case to be made here. I will give you an example.
We
What did
could
the
use some of the
Arabs
hadith,
do?
but
What did
yeah,
they do? I'm going to show you one example. The Arabs castrated people, castrated the slaves. Are you familiar with that?
of course, it's very sick.
What did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say about castrating a slave? That there's going to be, it's going to, I don't want to, it's basically a condemnation. I'll find you the hadith in just a second. Let me just end my
The
share
hadith are
here.
complex. There's some hadith that are
Okay,
very
so here's my
problematic, but
point.
I'm sure you
Here
know
we
that.
have a situation of the Arabs are doing the exact opposite of what their prophet of Islam is teaching them. The prophet said, do not castrate slaves. You're going to get in a lot of trouble. Do not beat slaves. You're going to burn in hell. But yet they do the exact opposite. So, how is it now? You explain to me that when you do the exact opposite of what your prophet is teaching you, somehow that reflects on what the teachings of Islam is. Can you explain that to me? This is so
I
ridiculous.
I think it's difficult.
That
Uh,
is nonsense. That is
mm,
stupidity. Christians don't tolerate it. Jews don't tolerate it. I'm not going to tolerate it. Okay. We're not going to engage in stupidity. Okay. Castration. Look what the Prophet of Islam said. Okay. Okay. So let's share the screen. Okay. We don't have time to engage in dishonesty here. Okay. Now, here's my point. If you still want to make the argument, that's okay. But you should be honest with people. This goes back to HIT, honesty, integrity, transparency. You should say, oh, but the Islamic scriptures condemn that, but yet they still did it. Then I'm okay. But they do deception. They hide this hadith. Whoever castrates his slave, we will castrate him.
But
And he who mutilates his slave, we will mutilate him. Now, when you bring up the Arab slave trade, if you would say, oh, by the way, let's make it clear, Muhammad condemned this. Okay, I'm honest. Then I'm okay. This is called honesty. This is called integrity. This is called transparency. So this is an issue of honesty. It is not acceptable to talk about the Arab slave trade and hide the hadith of Muhammad and all the Islam. So you could see the anger here, because the anger here is not the debate itself. I love the debate. The anger which I am venting is a dishonesty, Issa. It's not acceptable, this type of deception.
So there's a slight issue here. Like, even in this hadith, we see that slavery is accepted within the society.
Okay, now you're shifting the goalpost. No, it was not actually. Okay,
so if it says whoever castrates his slave, we will castrate him. It's saying, I'm trying to explain to you that in these environments, you're going to have things that are problematic. I think we have to be honest and accountable. Like you said, you can't hold Christians to the standard and say, well, Philemon with the Paul situation, and say, oh, you need to go.
You're not understanding, Issa. You're way off track here. The point here is this: an argument was made that the Arabs castrated slaves. Therefore, now just focus on castration right now. Therefore, Islam is wrong because why? The Arabs castrated slaves. But when we actually go back to the scripture, we find that castration is condemned. So the right thing to say here is the Arabs castrated slaves, but the actual religious text condemned that. Beating a slave, castrating them, that stuff is condemned in Islam. So it's about giving all the information here, not just cherry picking. Okay. Now, the issue of slavery. Remember what I said in the debate? Because I addressed this issue. There is no slavery in Islam. Because as I pointed out, for slavery to be to have slavery in Islam, you've got to have forced work. You got to force them to work. But if there is nothing like forced labor in Islam, which there isn't, then you cannot call this slavery. Now, I made that very clear in the debate.
To ask you about this. If the hadith is talking about slavery, then how can you say there is no slavery? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Because the definition of slavery is being redefined in the scripture. By the definition of slavery, according to what we look, let's go to the definition of slavery. Let me walk you through this. But this is about, we're getting off the topic about honesty and integrity. This is my focus here. This is what is making me angry here, is that there is clear, all of what I'm telling you should have been explained by the David Woods and all the other people. I shouldn't have to be explaining this to you. And that's where the anger is coming in. Definition of slavery. Definition of slavery.
The point is, it's talking about having slaves. Like, that is slavery. Like,
okay, part of the definition of slavery is forced labor. Do you see that?
I do see that, but the hadith is talking about how do you
treat in slaves. Islam, there's no forced labor for slaves. Do you see that?
I think that's debatable, but
there's no debate about it because again, we go back to the hadith. Okay, look. If you can show me forced labor in the Quran or a hadith, then I'll accept the point. But we're way off topic here. I think we need to get back on track here. But the issue which I am seeing here, Issa, is not so much what Islam teaches, what the Quran teaches, lack of debate. I am seeing that there is a problem in the honesty, integrity, and transparency. That people are just lying about Islam. Okay, you should, like this issue of forced labor, I should not have to be the one telling people about this. I rely on others to honestly talk about these things. And when you're talking about Islamic slavery, cool, great, but be honest about it. Talk about the hadith, which I quoted. Talk about this stuff, but that ain't happening. Now is it? Okay, so I want to get back to the issue here, which is, and I know what the issue which I wanted to talk about is where the Quran clearly condemns the Bible as being corrupt.
Do
Okay?
you think there's a problem with that though? Like
No.
in the creed, in the Arkan Iman, it says you have to believe in the books. If you're saying that
In
the books
where?
are
What book?
the Arkan, well, the books would be
What
the
the hell
Torah,
is
the
that?
Zabur, and the Injil. The Torah, the Zabur,
Arcano
and the
Iman?
Injil.
What the hell is that? I don't have to follow no what book are you talking about?
The Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil. We know the Torah is at least the Chomesh, which is
No,
Genesis,
okay,
Exodus,
look. What we need to follow
Leviticus,
is okay,
Numbers,
where the
Deuteronomy.
first book you need to understand is the Quran. What does the Quran say about this stuff? Okay, let's get
The
there.
Quran is
And
confirming it. I mean, I don't really see
okay,
how it can't be. Like, what
okay,
else? What other text would
let's
it
walk
be?
through the documents. Let's look and see what the Quran actually says. We can get to the issue of confirming in just a second here. Okay, so now I want to show you a verse from the Quran which clearly, explicitly teaches that the New Testament is corrupt. Okay, and this is a clear verse having no ambiguity nor alternative interpretation, confirming, this is what confirming means, that the New Testament is corrupt. Okay? So this is where I think you are having your confusion. First of all, let's start with what the Bible teaches. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 14, 16 says the Jews killed Jesus. Okay, great. Let's move on. The Quran now contradicts that. It says, indeed, we have killed Messiah, and for they're saying, referring to the Jews, indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah. They did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but was made to resemble to them to be so. And now
Why would
here's
that be
what's
false?
important. This is what's important. And indeed, those who differ in it are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge. They follow assumptions. So let's break it down here. Who is it that differs? Well, the New Testament differs about that, which I just read for you. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 16 says the Jews killed Jesus. But the Quran says, those who differ, it's referring to this guy, say, what, you're talking about me? Yeah, you are in full of doubt about it, which is corruption, and you have no knowledge about it, and you are just following assumptions, or which is corruption. What book are they following? The New Testament. Now, here's my challenge for you, or my request for you. Do you see any ambiguity or alternative interpretation? Please call it out.
Yep,
okay?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Easily, it's an easy situation. You can easily reconcile this in one way. Here's one process that you could easily do it and say, well, there was someone who was crucified that looked like Jesus. So what Thessalonians is recording is that person that was seen as being crucified. That is an easy reconciliation. You have an
Well, I'm
amity
sorry,
position.
I didn't understand. So are you saying Thessalonians wrongfully documented who was crucified?
Well, no, the person looked like they were Jesus. So
No. But the problem here, that Thessalonians is literally saying the Jews killed Jesus. The Jews did it.
So,
But
and there's this. Oh, I'm going to go through the different frameworks.
Yeah.
That's just one. I have multiple frameworks that you can easily engage this and cause doubt on it. Another one could be, it says the Jews. Well, the Jews didn't kill Jesus. It was the Romans. So yeah, it doesn't matter. That doesn't contradict with the Quran. The Romans did it, not the Jews. So that's an easy reconciliation.
Okay, but the New Testament says the Jews killed Jesus, and the Quran says the Jews didn't kill Jesus. And if you say that, you're following corruption.
The New Testament says the Romans killed Jesus. Pontius Pilate.
No. Let's get back to the verse. The New Testament.
I've read the New Testament. It doesn't say that.
Okay, let's read. Okay.
Pontius Pilate.
Okay, let's
Jesus
read together.
to the
1
cross.
Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 14. From the Jews who killed the Lord Jesus and the prophets and drove them out. So the text does explicitly say, this is called deicide. Many scholars, by the way, have talked about this, the killing of God. Okay.
So I'm going to challenge this. I'm going to push back. Do you know who wrote this?
Thessalonians, this was Paul.
So what is Paul?
Well, he's one of the from
so
our
Paul's
perspective.
a Jew. Paul is a Jew. Peter's a Jew.
Okay.
All these people are Jews. So did Paul kill Jesus too? That doesn't make sense, right?
No.
Because he's a Jew, so he must have killed Jesus too, right? Because the Jews killed Jesus, right? That
what you're saying,
sense.
this is not a smart thing to write. Okay, I don't disagree with you. This was not a smart thing to write. Okay, but look, The issue here, what is happening here is called collective guilt. He's putting the collective guilt of the alleged death of Jesus upon the Jews. Okay, so if you keep reading the New Testament,
But the
in
gospel
fact,
itself tells us that the Romans killed Jesus. That's what the
uh,
text
no,
explicitly
no,
tells us.
the
It
text.
does.
Okay,
The
I'm
gospel
going
says he
to
brought it,
let's get
that
okay.
Pontius
The
Pilate
scholars,
sends
the
him
scholars
over
of the
to
New
the
Testament
cross.
have already talked about this. This is called deicide. Okay, the Bible
No. I
teaches.
understand your
Yeah,
point, but
yeah.
engage what I'm saying here. Pontius
Okay,
Pilate, the Romans had power
okay.
in Judea. It was not the Israelites. The Israelites were second class citizens, right?
Mhm.
So these were second class citizens who lived in this territory. They couldn't do anything like this type of thing. They
Okay.
could not go and just do public executions because that would be a challenge to Rome's power. So what happened was Rome executed him. You could say that the priests may have sent him to Rome to be, uh, condemned, but Rome is the one that ultimately does it. And what
But
Pontius
that's
Pilate
not
tries,
what the Bible teaches. That's not what the church
it,
fathers teach. The church fathers, the
I'm
Bible,
telling, I'm just telling what the
and
Gospels
Martin
say.
Luther
So,
are
so
all stating
Martin
the
Luther was a major
Jews who
anti-Semite. He was a big
killed the Lord
anti-Semite.
Jesus. Can you
But
not read this? From
I,
the
I,
Jews who killed the Lord
I
Jesus. Can
know,
you read
but
that?
I said the Gospels. This is the letters of Paul. I'm talking about the
Okay, okay.
Gospels.
So,
So I
okay,
said the
that's fine. You're
Gospels
saying there's a
say with.
contradiction between the two. I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm for first of all. So, what the Quran is doing, the Quran is zoning in on the author of Thessalonians. Okay, now remember the Gospels do echo this. It supports the teaching. It says here in Matthew 27 verse 24, and his blood is on us and on our children. Okay, so this is called the collective guilt, which is being
So
placed
whoever
upon
those
the
people
Jews.
were, and the text actually says that it was Gentiles and Jews that called
Okay,
for Jesus. So what happened was, which is a very controversial narrative, but it's a narrative where Pontius Pilate says, "Here's two Jesus. Here's Jesus Barabbas and Jesus Christ. Which
okay.
one will you set free?" And it's actually echoing the Yom Kippur narrative, where you have the lamb that gets sacrificed for God and then the scapegoat that gets to go away. It's a spiritual, metaphorical narrative. It's very clear what the writers are showcasing there. So
Mhm.
Barabbas is supposed to be the scapegoat, and Jesus is the Lamb of God that is supposed to be sacrificed
Okay.
for humanity, because they used to do burnt offerings. I'm sure you're familiar with that, but they did
We,
animal
we, we, we can
sacrifice.
say
Yeah.
both killed him. Romans had a play in it, and the Jews did. Okay. So, what the Quran is saying when it came to the Jews,
I would say
now,
some, you could say maybe, I hate to say Jews, like this is like
well,
very
that's what the
anti-Semitic,
text says. That's
because
what
like
the text says.
the thing is like, what does Jews even mean? Like when I think
Okay.
of the Quran tells us that the Jews worshipped Ezra as the son of God. Well, which Jews?
Mhm.
Most Jews, I've never even heard of a Jew that has. So it's got
That's,
to be
yeah.
some kind of sect that existed at some point of time. Maybe that was in, Medina and
Well,
Mecca. Like it's a possibility that that happened. But like the idea that so the thing is, we can't generalize. We have to always
okay, that's
specify.
fine. But do you see the
That's
problem? That
important.
what I'm trying to get you to understand, the Quran now comes and negates the idea of the Jews, whether some or all, this idea of the Jews killing Jesus. The Quran is directly contradicting First Thessalonians. This is a big contradiction between First Thessalonians, and the Quran is basically saying it's wrong. And then it says that, look, those who differ over it, which is First
Hmm.
Thessalonians and Matthew 27-24 and some other passages, those who differ, they're in doubt, which is corruption. The Quran is overemphasizing this. You have no knowledge about this, and you are just following, which is what book is it the Christians are following that teaches this? First Thessalonians. You are just following corruption.
Here's
Okay.
another resolution. So you could just say, look, a Muslim could take the position if they want to. I think you can reconcile all of this, but I could write a thesis on that.
Well,
But
no, but the
I
point I'm trying to get you to
but
see, the Quran is calling the New
n-
Testament as
it's
corruption.
not. Well, what it's challenging is the letters of Paul. You can make that
Okay,
position
that's
if you want to
fine.
say that,
That's
but
fine.
and you could say, okay, that part of the New Testament's a part of the canon, but it's
Sure.
not challenging the gospel directly. It's not challenging Mark,
I would
Matthew,
say,
Luke, and John.
okay,
I'm saying
read.
this is not
Okay,
doing that. So a Muslim
yeah.
could say, yeah, it can. Like you could say, a Muslim could take the position that the Torah is the five books. It's not Tanakh. You don't have to say it's Genesis to Malachi. You can just say, look, it's the first five books. Islam pretty much, I would say, generally is aligned in most things. If you read a lot of like Jewish stuff, there's not really much difference, even in the Hadith. Like even the Talmud looks very close to a lot of Sunni treatises. They're very identical. Like they have commentary, and I would say Sunni Islam is pretty identical to Rabbinic Judaism in many ways. Like basically scholars take the primary set piece, but that's another conversation. But I think what's important when we look at this is Muslims can say, look, I take the 5 books, I take what the Quran says. I take Psalms, I take the 5 books of the Torah, and I take the Gospels. And I think that you don't even have to take anything else because that's what the Quran says. You don't have to take Tanakh. You don't have to take, Kings. You don't have to take Chronicles. You don't have to take any of that. You can just take, the 5 books, Psalms, and the Gospel,
Okay.
and figure out how to reconcile that. But
so it looks like from what you're saying, you do accept that the Quran is at least is condemning 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 14, which we just read, because it says, and they have no knowledge of it, except they are following, which is 1 Thessalonians, assumptions, which is corruptions. Okay, good.
I would say on a literal reading, yeah, you could. I could see where you would
literal
have
reading.
That, sure.
However, you need to throw Matthew 27:24 inside that sweeping indictment, because Matthew echoes what we read over here. Okay. It says here about, when we read, the Jews are basically saying his blood is on us and on our children. So this is echoing.
Where does it say Jews? It says the crowds, right? In the front of the
people
crowd.
Answer, well,
the crowd was mixed. That's usually what's granted. It's mixed of Jews and Gentiles.
Yeah, and Pilate,
and it's not all Jews. It's only the people in that crowd. So they cannot be. We cannot condemn. Like, for example, we do not say ISIS represents all of Islam, right? We could that. It's like the same thing. It's saying, look at al-Baghdadi. He did all these horrible, evil things. That's all Muslims. What Daesh did is Muslims. What Osama bin Laden did is all Muslims. It's not. It's only Daesh. It's only Osama bin Laden. And I would say it's only the people in this crowd. It's not Jews. It's not Christians. It's just those people. I think we have to hold it fairly. That's my position on this.
Okay, and that's actually something I got to do a little bit more further research in terms of, and the people answered, were they the Jews or were they just general people? His blood is on us and on our children. Now, historically and traditionally, it has always been the Jews. The Jews have the blood and their children have the blood of Jesus upon them. That has been historically understood.
Yeah, it's an anti-Semitic. And I actually, I'm going to applaud you on this. You talked about the Holocaust and stuff.
Right.
There has been massive anti-Semitism.
Right.
And you called it out. There has been massive, and it's particularly European anti-Semitism. My mother's family escaped from Eastern Europe because they did pogroms and they murdered and killed Jewish people. So it was a horrible thing. They had to escape from that. And it's true. That is a true statement. There is massive European anti-Semitism. And it's about white supremacy. These white people want to say they believe they're the real Jews. They believe that they're the chosen people. And that's why they did conquest around the world. I mean, that is what happened. Like, that's the facts. They believe they were the chosen people of God. It was a replacement theory. They said, we are replacing the Jews. We are the real Jews because we're under Christ. I don't know how that works, but they believe that. And that's what said, okay, we're going to take over India. We're going to take over Africa. We're going to split up all this stuff, steal all these people's things. And they did it. I mean, I'm not denying that. That's a true statement.
Okay.
And there's no accountability that's ever happened for those things. So,
Okay. And what we can say, just to kind of wrap this one up here, we can say that at least the Quran is condemning 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 14, verse 16. Whether it's condemning Matthew, I'll get back to you on that. Okay. So at least we can say there is a condemnation within the text of the Quran which condemns this. Now, I'm sure you're familiar if you've watched the debates, chapter 2, verse 79 of the Quran, which says, in fact, I'm going to get you that verse in just a second here.
Can we wrap up around 5:30? I'm so sorry. I have to leave.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
I know we went on for like an hour and a half, but we can have another conversation too.
Sure. Now, now the Quran is, let me do confirming real quick. What does it mean to confirm? Okay. So since we know that the Quran at least does condemn, some of the text of the Bible, confirmation in fact, let me do confirm diagram. I don't even know what I have on there. Confirming. Well, first of all, whenever it used the term confirming, it was not used in the context, okay, go ahead and trust the Bible. Oh, this book is trustworthy, it's reliable. This has never been the context of the Quran. The Quran's confirmation context was, look, you should believe in this book because it is a confirming your book. It's a reason to believe in the Quran. So the Quran is confirming that there is validity to your book. It's confirming the one God, and it's also confirming that there's problems in the book. So I have like a little diagram over here. You see the miraculous signs and evidences for Islam. But I swore allegiance to the God of Israel, the Bible, the Torah, stuff like that. The people of the book is confused now. The Quran, the Bible. It's a dilemma. What should I do? Confirms the same message, confirms my book, and now I know that it's the same God as Jews and the Christians believe in. It provides good solutions for the disagreements. So the parts where the Christians are confused, why do I see these things in my book? Is this book wrong? The Quran is confirming, yes, those are wrong things in your book, but now here's the right answer. So that's how confirming is used in the text of the Quran. Okay, so there's no contradiction here. There's no problem by saying our book confirms your book. And I know you got to wrap. This is something you might want to just kind of wrap your mind. Look at this picture. I'll send this picture to you, but I'll leave you with a final point. See, in order for there to be a dilemma, it shouldn't be open for interpretation. It should be airtight case. But if the arguments you are raising, like confirming, the Christians might come up with their interpretation. I'll come up with my understanding, but that's the whole point. It is open for interpretation. And if something is open for interpretation, then there's no dilemma. We can wiggle our way out of that. Okay, so there's no dilemma. The only way you can have a dilemma is if the matter is not open for interpretation. So I think we need to wrap it up in a couple of minutes here. But my point to you, Issa, here is I would need to get you to start looking at these issues from the Islamic point of view, like the Islamic dilemma. When we say that the Quran is confirming the Bible, it's okay if you look at it the way we're explaining it. Do you see that, Issa?
I see it, and I don't, from my position, I think they are reconciled. I don't think that the Quran has to contradict the Bible. That's my position.
Okay,
So,
but the point is the dilemma. There's no dilemma here, Issa, is what I'm trying to show
it's
you.
a dilemma if you think that they contradict. I think that is the position they're saying. And I think a lot of Muslims are really stuck on trying to prove that the Bible is false. Why? Why do we need to do that? I think it's better to just focus on the goodness that you can find
What about
in
the
the
Christians
Quran.
who are stuck on trying to prove that the Quran is wrong? Do you have a problem when David Wood does the exact same thing you're saying?
Well, the thing is because the Muslims are doing that. The Muslims go into that trap. And look at what the Muslims are doing. Look
Can
at
you give
Dr.
this lecture to
Malik and
David
look at
Wood? Issa, can you give this lecture that you're giving me to David, which is okay, I accept all criticism. Can you give it to David Wood?
I don't think you're the problem. It's people like Dr. Malik and Jake the metaphysician who are hostile, who are actually pretty military.
Can you lecture David Wood on these things as well?
I don't think he has the problem here. I don't think he's the one who's
he
at fault
attacks
in these
Islam.
situations.
No, he does. He attacks. He is doing exactly what you are condemning Muslims of doing. He's attacking Islam. 99% of his material is just attacking Islam and his text and its prophet.
But it's this version. He's attacking a particular version.
But
and
why
I think
don't
Muslims,
you? Why is it that
Muslims
you
don't have to
criticize us
follow
but not
that
the Christians, Issa? This is come on now.
My position is.
Come on now, Issa. This is getting a little bit out of hand.
You are silly. You are silly, Billy. Okay, I wanted to say that these. I think there is a difference here. The thing is, people are granting these things. They're granting that the Prophet of Islam slept with a 9-year-old. Stuff. Well, I think that's a horrible thing. They grant these things and they allow for these things. Look at Daniel Hakikachu. He defends this. It's so disgusting.
He's a joke. He's a joke. That's for sure. We all got
it's
bad
more
apples.
than that. Like the type of things he says makes
horrible.
Islam and Muslims look bad. It makes Muslims look like barbarians. Yeah. It makes like Muslims look evil. And Muslims are trying to like clean up the slate and not look like these horrible bad people. But that's why I went and debated a modern day debate, because I saw many Muslims just saying horrible things. Like,
I don't blame you.
They said we're going to do violence, and I was like, the Muslim world that I knew would never do anything like that, ever do violence and hurt people, and it was very inclusive. That's the world I grew up in.
We got 1 minute. Issa,
Yeah.
so let's wrap it up this way. Here's where we can go from here. I want you to, if we can, contact David Wood and set up a debate between him and Dr. Bart Ehrman and Dr. Richard Carrier on the reliability of the New Testament, at least 4 or 5 on these, okay?
I don't think
And
he
we could
wants to
set it
do
up
that.
together. Will you do that for us?
I will go on the show and ask him about it, but I don't think he wants to do that. I don't. That's just not his
Exactly.
thing.
You
He
know
doesn't
him. You
want to
see,
do that.
Issa. Now I'm gonna have to confront. By the way, you and for sure continue with your live streams criticizing me. I need that. The more, the better, Issa. And I do appreciate. That's why I brought you on here, because I'm like this is what I need to make myself better, so I don't make a fool out of myself like Daniel Hakikachu. If you see anything I'm doing wrong, definitely call it out. But you see, Issa, come on, I'm gonna have to. It seems like you are just kind of running away from confronting David Wood on things you know that he's wrong on. But if the Muslim does it, oh well, you call us out on it.
Well,
Come
because
on, Issa, that's a
some
little bit too much
people are
here.
calling for world violence and calling for child marriage. I have to call that out. He doesn't call that. He does
Okay,
not
so if it
deal with
comes
that.
to
That's my
violence,
problem.
okay, well, what about supporting Israel? That and its genocide against the people of Gaza. Okay, you could at least confront him on some of that stuff,
I think it's an extremely
Issa.
problematic. No, I hear this is a very problematic situation. I think both Jews, Israelis, and Palestinians have been victims of British colonialism, and there's a lot of suffering,
Okay,
and there's a
okay.
lot
So
of lack of.
you've
But that's
made
a
it
whole
pretty
other
clear
issue. But
tonight, Issa.
I
I
think
think
there's.
what we can conclude from tonight's discussion. You're not going to criticize Wood. You're not going to confront him. You're not going to bring up some
Yeah,
of these
he's my friend.
issues.
It's hard.
Okay,
Yeah,
he's your friend.
I,
All right.
I mean, I don't know
Okay,
what to
that's fine.
critique
That's
him
fine.
on. I mean, these people. Look, we have
That's
to be
fine.
honest here, brother. These people are trying to attack his wife. They're attacking Christian apologist's wife. They're saying they're going to do
Yeah.
sexual assault, and like we have to call that out, dude.
Okay, I'll
Muslim
call that
people
out
need to
of it
call that.
if
It's
I
really
see it. Yeah,
disgusting,
that's
and
for
people
sure. We'll
and
do
see
that.
like. And people get mad, like he said, he eats the Quran. I'm like, yeah, of course I'm not into that at all. Like it's wild to see that, but I'm
The
like,
main the
I
main
understand it
issue.
because it's a
Yeah.
response to these really nasty, horrible people. You could say, look, see, we're in a place of debate where you could say, look, I disagree on this point or I disagree with that point. But when you're threatening sexual assault against women, we
Okay,
have to stand
that's
up
fine.
and
We
say
can agree
no.
with that. That's crazy stuff. Yeah.
That's what I'm sorry, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's where I stand with
Yeah.
him. I'm like,
Well,
absolutely not. You can't attack Maria, his wife. You can't attack
okay.
children. Like he has a son who had disabilities, and his son passed away. And these Muslims said horrible things on his chat. I'm like, what kind of Muslims are these? These aren't the Muslims I know. These aren't the Muslims you know. But these Muslims exist online, and they're very
Christians
disgusting.
also dish out the same type of nonsense as well, but it just seems like you don't
I
want
haven't
to
seen it.
consider
I'm
them.
just saying from what I
I've
see
seen
within the
it.
Muslim
Yeah.
community,
And
it
people
is
have
very
threatened me.
bad. It's very bad.
It's on both sides, but I think the main thing here, which I wanted you to see, look, there are con artists here. Okay, there. I want you to really think about what those numbers I quoted you at. Okay, that's not acceptable. And true apologists argue the case for whatever their religion on modern day debate, and there's only one religion that's doing that, which is Islam, and I'm championing and leading the debate on this topic. And the case for Christianity is literally non-existent. You might find some somebody we don't even know, like from the comment section, who might stumble upon it and try to fill the void left behind by the con artists like Wood and people like that. I mean, this is when I tell you, look, Wood is a con artist. These are the reasons I'm giving you to back it up. But at least we now know, and this is where we'll leave it off at, there is texts in the Quran which do condemn the text of the New Testament. And so at least what I'd like for you to do, Issa,
literal interpretation.
Yeah, literal interpretation. I would like for you to convey that to David Wood, because it's about honesty, and say, hey, David Wood, here's what I learned from Nadir. You don't have to mention my name, but there are texts which do condemn the New Testament. Because remember, Wood is under the impression that there is no text of the Quran which condemns the text of the New Testament. That's not true. It is.
I would say
and he said that. In fact, he said he would become a Muslim if anybody were to show him that.
I would say that Dr. Wood would say it's Evangelion. I think he would take the same position that I said. I don't think he would agree that they would say the letters of Paul would be included.
Okay, well,
that was my understanding.
Yeah, can you clarify that? Because at least we can say it's the letters of Paul are condemned by the Quran. We can at least say that.
Well, and I think that's probably why a lot of Muslims don't like Paul very much. I've seen that.
Well, I think David Wood is under the impression that that there is, whether it's the letters of Paul or whether it's the Gospels, the Quran in no way condemns the Bible in any of it. So that's what my understanding, his understanding is. You could talk to him and get back with me on that.
I
Just to
could talk to
confirm.
him privately, but I'm like 100% sure when he thinks of it, because
Okay.
what the Quran says, Injil means evangelion. Evangelion is gospel. So the New Testament isn't just a gospel. The New Testament is the gospel, and it's the letters of Paul and like the epistles of Peter and
Well,
Revelation.
my
And
computer is about to die here.
all right, brother.
So I
Yeah.
tell you what.
All right,
So thank you
Uncle.
so much
Peace.
for coming today. I do appreciate it, and I will, and let's follow up in email.
We'll have another conversation for
Yes.
sure. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you.
Inshallah.
All right.
Assalamu
Bye-bye.
alaikum. Peace.
Awesome.